this is not only a story of those 88 people, but this is a story of so many of us. My name is Anastasia Gajkowska, and when I left my abusive relationship, I wanted to create a movie, a film, a documentary where I interview not only survivors, but thrivers. I mean, people who left abusive relationships and they're really thriving now. I flew to Hollywood to learn the art of making films. I asked 8 questions. This documentary is a sample of combined stories. I use my laptop camera, my phone camera. Many recordings you will see in this documentary were filmed by survivors in their own home. All our participants decided to share their story voluntarily. 88 stories, one soul, one voice, one calling for the whole humanity. Welcome to the very first out of 15 episodes of Exposé, 88 stories that prove you can thrive after leaving an unhealthy relationship. In this episode, we are going to talk about 5 stages of grooming, which is targeting, creating trust and control, filling up a need, abuse starts, maintaining abuse, and learn how you can recognize and combat this harmful behavior. Enjoy! As a survivor of few abusive relationships, I decided to create this documentary series to break the cycle of abuse once and for all. Targeting. This is when the abuser selects. They target. They might choose someone who seems vulnerable or isolated.
You know, they are out there, they are expert manipulators, they are predators, they're essentially hunting for people like us who are vulnerable, who have got maybe wounds from our childhood or from previous relationships that we thought we were okay, but actually we're not. And they just target us. And because of our attachment style and our own vulnerabilities, we become more susceptible to their manipulations.
They normally start with something called love bombing, where they actually intoxicate you and create a strong chemistry of attachment because they tell you how fantastic you are. You know, they seem to like the same things. They come with a lot of fast intensity. So you build this idea that they're really great and wonderful and perfect match, and they're really wonderful and sweet. And that becomes your first impression. And when we form one impression of a person, our brain really struggles to accept when we suddenly see the complete opposite. So when the abuse suddenly appears, our brain diminishes this.
And how do they do that? Through our feelings. So they manipulate language, they manipulate our feelings, and before long, our inner narrative serves the narcissist. So all day, every day, I'm having negative feelings about myself. I'm afraid to leave. I'm afraid to speak up. I'm afraid to talk to my friends, right? So my subconscious mind now is being downloaded with all this information. I have all of these limiting beliefs, and now the narcissist is in my head. So awakening to that truth and holding on to this idea of consciousness, because consciousness can help you heal trauma.
This person was someone I knew. He was somebody that was in my life. He was also somebody that had status above me within the military. He had higher rank than I did. And I didn't put him in that position. So I trusted him.
I met my ex. He was quite a high-ranking, very influential person at that time in the capital.
He, now looking back, reminded me of my father. He was 10 years my senior. He was articulate. He was well-spoken. He was, it seemed like he was doing okay for himself. And he's, was trying to get my attention for many weeks, and I finally gave in.
He was brash and the bad boy, and I needed an out. I was smothered by my ex before him, and he was a fresh air. He made all these promises and was very charismatic. And in 9 years, though, he never kept one.
He just seemed to be kind of the calm to my storm. He seemed to be very nurturing. He had a good head on his shoulders. He seemed to understand what I had been going through, with my family. And, he understood how I would feel when I would come home from work, and, just know how to just comfort me, and just, whether it be, having a warm bath ran for me, or, dinner prepared, or, hey, I've got a surprise for you. Let's take a drive. We're going to the drive-in, or we're going to have a picnic or something like that. Just something to relieve the stress from work.
He added me as a friend on Facebook, and he asked me out. And initially, I was attracted to the way he looked. He was very muscular, and I was into fitness at the time. And we went on our first date, and I actually didn't find him attractive at all when I first met him. I thought he was really arrogant, and I thought that he didn't have a lot of substance, like he didn't have much to say. And I'm the kind of person, I'm very open and chatty and that kind of thing. And I thought, this guy's really simple. Oh, I hadn't heard from him in about a week and a half, and he messaged me to ask me out again. And so I thought, I'll just go, right? So I went, and it was completely different. He was so kind and attentive, and he told me stories of his ex, and I felt sorry for him because he told me that she was a drug addict and she was cheating on him, and he's so messed up from it. And so right away, my codependent wanting to fix him kind of kicked in, telling me how nice I am and how lucky he is that I still wanted to go out with him. And so that kind of made me feel like, oh, well, maybe he is okay,
I was in a new country. I didn't speak fluently the language, and I was looking for friends. So yes, I was very, I would say, open to making friends, and I was oversharing many informations without questioning myself why this person is asking me those questions. I felt that, of course, they want to help me, because if I were them, I would do the same thing. So I was mirroring and projecting my own self, my own intention on somebody else. And because of the cognitive bias, I was so much in the impression that, yes, this is a great person because they are so charming and they have this sense of humor and this presence which felt familiar, and it felt unresistible, and it felt so exciting and thrilling to be around them. It felt like, oh, my life is no more boring, and I feel like I have a new sense of life, like, wow. Building trust. Once the target has been chosen, the abuser works on gaining their trust. They might do this by being overly supportive, kind, and understanding. They might seem like the perfect friend, perfect partner at this stage, making the target feel very careful and valued.
I think that it was because he paid attention to me.
And make you feel like you're the most special person in the world.
We got very close very quickly. I thought it was true love instantly.
I mean, he was telling me I was the most beautiful woman he had ever met.
I was attracted to him instantly. We used to always go on nights out and he'd never let me spend a penny. And I've never had that before. I've never had a guy that's done that to me. So I felt really good.
You're the love of my life, and it was a very it was that very quick, like, bonded. There was like I love yous very quickly in the relationship. If I was the queen of his world, so it made me feel special. I finally felt special, and I didn't look at it as being anything else but this person really loves me.
Very romantic, very attentive in listening. He wanted to know me and was fascinated by me. So I was I don't think I've ever had that attention before. You know, I hadn't had male attention ever. And this man, you know, was coming with, you know, literally the white horse. He was anything that I wanted. And I can remember him saying now, he's like, what do you? I was put on a pedestal. And why? Why did I think I deserved to be on a pedestal? But I fell for it. I did fall for that.
He gave me a lot of attention, and I really loved that, obviously, because of my childhood.
He was handsome. He was my type. Like, we were soulmates. I can remember telling people, gosh, it's crazy. We don't fight. We agree upon everything. He's always there. He's always around.
They learn to say the things that you want to hear and to tell you all the right things, that they love the things that you love, and you're just the best thing, and you're so beautiful and important.
Sex was really, really good. She even smelled like something that would take me back to maybe when I was born.
What attracted me was just this beautiful smile and ease of being with, along with the charisma.
He presented himself as a father.
I was stripping and prostituting, and he kept frequently coming to place of establishment. He also knew some of the friends that I was staying with and hanging out with. And he was giving me attention. He was giving me, remember I told you, he was giving me that attention of, oh, well, this must be love. He must really be interested in me because, you know, he wants to have sex. And not for money.
That was that physical, just very raw attraction that I confused for something else.
Love bombing. I mean, he was intensely attentive. Like, he would make appointments for me at the nail salon and sit with me and make me peanut butter sandwiches while I was getting my nails done. He insisted on doing my housework for me, doing my laundry, picking me up and dropping me off when I was going out with my friends. He would tell me stories about how amazing I am and how he's so lucky he found me. He'd give me massages every day. And while he was massaging me, I mean, now I'm thinking back and it's really creepy, but at the time I thought it was so amazing. He would say these super cliche things like, how I am with you now is how I'm going to be with you 6 months from now. And I can see myself marrying you one day, and you're my queen, and I'm going to treat you like a queen, and I'm going to show you that I'm different. He made me trust him really quickly. And I told him a lot of things about my history. And I think, I mean, again, now looking back, he was using that. He knew exactly what to say to make me feel like I could trust him. And that's what hooked me at the beginning. He took me away on a full vacation a month into our meeting, like gifts, and oh my God, it was so over the top. So I thought, like, wow, I found the anomaly, you know, like, this guy's good looking, he's in shape, he's so kind, and he likes me, you know, it's like, wow. And yeah, that's what originally, that's what it was. It was the focus and attention. And again, looking back, it was manipulation, but I thought that I had found my soulmate. I had never met anyone like that before. Like, I never felt that intense attention. Like, it just felt so good. Like, it was like, wow, you know, this person, I mean, he literally put me on a pedestal, you know, and it just felt so good.
He kind of swooped me off my feet straight away with his gallant, nonchalant, you know. I was treated like a princess. So, of course, I was young, so that was fairy tale come true. He would send a car to get me to take him to the place where I will meet him.
He started taking me out on these really nice dates. And when I say nice, I don't mean in terms of material things. I just meant the way that he treated me, the level of attention that he was giving to me was unlike anything that I had ever seen in any other male courtship. It was opening the car door. It was, you know, making sure, you know, I got in the car okay. It was flowers. It was, you know, it was walks in the park. It was just all of these things that I had never experienced before that seemed like it was straight out of a Hallmark movie. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. You know, you're 21 years old and somebody's courting you like this, something that you see on TV all the time. It's like, whoa, what did I do to deserve this level of attention? Not realizing that that level of attention was one of the red flags that I had missed. And, you know, time went on, and, you know, the more and more that I got attracted to this person, the more and more I missed that he was grooming me for the abuse that he was, you know, eventually going to unleash on me. By the time somebody gives you half of that attention, right, that you craved, as you mentioned, it's like, whoa, I love this, and you're going to miss everything wrong about it. And that's essentially where I was in the beginning of that relationship, missing all the red flags over the next 3 months that we started dating.
Everything that I said that I was wanting, she was literally becoming. In the process of this love bombing stage, I made a mistake as a young man by sleeping with this woman, and she ended up getting pregnant. I was initially attracted to her beauty. We started, you know, hanging out together, starting to get to know each other more. And then she just became all those things and was doing all those things that I wanted in a wife. I had yet decided that I wanted her as my wife, but she ended up getting pregnant and I didn't want to have a baby out of wedlock. So I went ahead and married her, and that led to a whole another 4 or 5 years of challenges.
On the very first night, he goes, I want to marry you. I want to spend my life with you. You're the most beautiful woman I ever met. He wouldn't let me feed myself. He goes, no girl of mine feeds herself. I feed you. So he was like feeding me. And I thought, my God, that's sexy. That's incredible. And I got sucked in. He was crying, oh, I don't want you to leave. So I never seen that side of a man. He called me every day. He sent me letters every day. Wow, this guy's incredible. The first date, he put all this jewelry on the counter, and he told me, he goes, well, pick something, pick a necklace, you know, pick whatever you want. So I'm looking, and I picked this beautiful necklace, and he goes, well, it's a surprise, it's all for you. So he just swept me off my feet.
I could see how the person I was with was giving me so much time and attention. Those two things, time and attention, the quality of that made me to feel important and safe to share more, and finally trusting them. Stage 3, feeling a need. During this stage, the abuser identifies a need or desire of the target and positions themselves as the solution.
Our relationship started, and I really, really had fun because we were traveling and everything was accessible to me at that time. But I mean, everything. So if I wanted whatever, I would get it. That was also the time of my heroin use. So he was provided as well. And I do not have to say I was quite a heavy user. The financial situation was like, he took care of everything.
2 weeks into a relationship with him is different from 2 weeks into a relationship with a normal person. He had already spent so much time with me and already made me feel so attached within that short period of time. I actually believed that he was honest and he actually had an interest in me.
We got along. It was like we were soulmates. I can remember telling people, gosh, it's crazy. We don't fight. We agree upon everything. He's always there. He's always around. And I think he was my first boyfriend as well. So I think I just craved that. And there's just, the attention and finally just kind of having somebody there all the time. And it was just great. And I didn't really question any red flags that may have come up because of that. It was just, I went with it and had a blast until, stuff started randomly popping up.
One of the things that attracted me to my horrible husband, that is his official title, was that he was so much more confident than I was. And so I kind of looked at him and thought, yeah, I'd like a bit of that. And because I lacked this sense of being able to stand in my own worth, I didn't realize that he was actually downright arrogant. And being around someone arrogant is a really, really bad idea. And confidence doesn't mean that you've got to sort of push yourself forward. Confidence, to me, the real thing that we name confidence is just being happy to show up in whatever capacity. You may be the person in the limelight, or you may not, and it doesn't matter. You've got nothing to prove to anyone. And what people choose to think of you is purely down to them. And if they choose not to like you, that's good information. If they don't like you, they're someone that you don't want to be around. It isn't an accident that so many of us find ourselves married to an abusive father or abusive mother. That was our normal growing up. So we walk away, we say, as young adults, we say, I'm never going to get involved in a mess like that. And what do? We find someone who's different on day one, and then we find ourselves straight back in that same mess, married to our mother or father. And that is a truly revolting realization.
I was a single mom. I didn't have a lot of help. We don't have a lot of family. And he was there. Like, he was ready to help with whatever. Oh, you need this. Okay, let's go. We're going to do this. Oh, you guys need this. Like, and a lot of, like, I assumed a lot of it was, oh, he needs me to get to basic training, right? Because a recruiter wants you to be successful in what they're recruiting you for. But it was beyond those things. Now, this person was someone I knew. He was somebody that was in my life. He was also somebody that had status above me. Within the military, he had higher rank than I did. And I didn't put him in that position. So I trusted him. And so looking back, I can now see all the boundaries that he broke, not just professionally, but personally.
I just wanted to feel like in home. So they were my home. They became, from a stranger, they became my family member in just a week, which can be, exciting or like really terrifying, because how could you give so much power and information to somebody you met a few days ago? But I, once again, back then I was unaware of the cognitive dissonance, and I was unaware that grooming exists. Of course, I saw TV, but I felt like, you know, this person has to be good because they're giving me so much time and information and gifts and trips. Of course, they're here for me. Why would they want to do anything bad to me? That wouldn't cross my mind until the last stage of grooming, which is abuse starts.
I didn't think that it was anything that he would ever do. So after it happened, looking back, I guess my moment that I got that feeling like, oh, maybe something isn't right, it was that night, unfortunately. And it was when someone else was involved in the situation and I saw the look on their face. And that's when I got a different feeling. I was like, oh, okay. And I guess that was a huge red flag to me. But and because of our professional relationship, he was my recruiter. So there was a lot of times where I was meeting up with him to sign paperwork and do different things and things like that, where other people weren't involved. When there was someone else around and I saw how he acted around other people, and other people started noticing that how he was acting around me was not normal. And I also think that a lot of people will be the steady in your life. They will make sure that they are a constant, that they seem stable. Even if they're not, they will always be stable in your eyes. Like they manifest themselves to be something much grander than they actually are. And unfortunately, sometimes we believe that grandeur that they create. And so I think a lot of that should have been red flags to me, that things were just too perfect. And you know, like you said, being put on a pedestal. Like, I guess I didn't realize that certain attention that he was paying to me was different. And so maybe, you know, that was another breaking the boundary, where he was maybe making too many meetings with me, and doing things like that, and or checking on me too much, caring too much for what the situation was, being too involved for what his role was. And I think that's what he definitely used against me, was the fact that he had gotten so ingrained and used his professionalism to become ingrained in my family. Especially as a recruiter, they have to know your family care plan. They have to know everything about your family. They've got to know all of those different things. So when I definitely started, now that I look back, like the line of professionalism was crossed a lot. So
Stage number 4, abuse starts. Once the abuser feels they have enough control over the target, they might begin to exert their power and manipulate the relationship.
I was 24, he was 27. So we were still in that college phase and going out. And I have a lot of friends. I have many, many, many friends, great friends. And it started being a problem. It started being, I wasn't allowed to talk to people. We had like a neighborhood Cheers bar where I was, you know, friends with people. He was friends with people, but I wasn't allowed to speak to anybody else. And these people would be 60 years old, but I wasn't allowed to hang out with them or do anything, just have a drink, or he didn't like it. And he also didn't have friends of his own, which I thought was very weird, considering that's, you know, all I had was just a posse basically. So it was definitely the first time I didn't understand the jealousy. Because I was constantly with him, there was no reason for it. So that would have been my first definite aha moment that something's not right there, because I've never given him a reason to think anything is wrong.
I started becoming a lot more isolated from my friends and stuff.
My friends were gone.
And they were like, you need to just finish it. You need to just get rid of him.
So
I didn't have people to talk to. I was also told who my friends should be.
How I couldn't speak to anyone else. I couldn't be near anybody else, and it became a very codependent relationship. And then it was the next step of the instant angry, and then I'm sorry.
A ninguna de mis amigas le caían bien.
My family saw this before me.
My friends were making the odd comment. You're a different person. You're not the person that we know. You're not the person that we love.
Why are you still talking to this person? To the point where like I secretly had them in my life.
I pretended it wasn't happening. I pretended that everything was all right. And yes, I've got the perfect partner. No, he treats me so well.
We're in denial. We don't no longer trust our instincts. We no longer trust the way we feel. The narcissist has convinced us that if our friends talk to us that way, we need to cut them out of our lives because they're jealous of our relationship or they're trying to get in between us. And so now I push my friends away.
And what they do is they try to alienate you. They try and separate you from your friends and your family so that they have ultimate control.
I did not see anything wrong. I did not see how I was 6 months into relationship, not seeing any of my friends, how I was not talking to my mom anymore. Like a couple of months in, I was not allowed to socialize with certain people, go out, have friends, you know. And this was so subtle. For me, it was natural to ask him permission. You know, it's so subtle that you don't even understand. Like, it becomes natural to just ask your boyfriend, can I don't know, buy those shoes, or call my mom, or I want to go and visit my sister for a weekend. Can I go? That's not a healthy, that's not a healthy and normal relationship at all. My friends were telling me that something is not really right here. Like this, how it looks from outside, it's not really right. But I wasn't listening to them because I was in love.
And the big one, obviously, was the blaming. The full on, like, it's all you. You know, I'm a great human being. I'm wonderful. And you are a traumatized little child and you need to go heal yourself. And that's where I definitely abandoned myself, because it was very apparent. Like, my insides were telling me that's not true. That's not true. But I continued to do that. It was immediate criticisms on everything. You're too loud. You chew too loud.
His inability to process his anger.
Son, go to your room. It was always, hey, you need to go play outside, because I knew that something was coming.
When we ended up getting married, the whole him not accepting the word no became a massive issue. And that's actually one of the reasons why he's in prison, because he's in prison for raping me. And essentially that is because he couldn't accept the word no.
I wasn't allowed to eat my full meal. And he pointed out the dessert. He said, oh, there is a lemon meringue pie. Look at that lemon meringue pie. And I go, wow, lemon meringue pie. And I picked it up and put it in the cart. He went nuts. And this little old lady walks by. She goes, dear, she heard the whole thing. She goes, is that your husband? I go, no. I go, no. She goes, oh, when he becomes your husband, he'll be 100 times worse.
I thought I looked really good. And he said to me, you look like a whore. And I said to him, that really hurts my feelings. That's not cool. He's like, oh, you're just too sensitive. Like, really, get over it. You can't take a joke. I was kidding. I was completely kidding. If you can't take a joke, what's wrong with you?
Just leaving the person for a week without talking, without responding to calls, without anything. That's really like completely this kind of what was later than the silent treatment, just like blinding out of his life. This was the first time where I was already seeing it. But of course, it just made me fall more into the victim mode and wanting him back and wanted this to not have happened. Like in the end, it was the first step already to accept the toxicity and say like, okay, I don't want this, but I will not, I didn't feel strong enough to just walk away and say like, okay, this is not okay. So then I let you go.
I was so young and so naive at the time. There was a lot of red flags with his family, the way that they treated each other, spoke to each other. His father was an alcoholic. And I just thought that, well, no, he's not like that. He's not anything like his family. He's different. He doesn't live at home. He's got away from home. And so therefore, he's not going to be like them. The situation occurred where I became pregnant. My family was in Australia and I was in New Zealand. So I was put on a plane and sent back to Australia to be dealt with by my family, who of course took me to the doctors and wanted me to have an abortion. I don't know where I found the strength at 15 to go and see a lawyer and find out what my rights were, but I did that. And I said, you can't make me do anything. And so they basically said, well, you've made your bed, you can lie in it, and you can find your own way back home, which I did. And up until that time, things had been going quite well with us. We'd been having fun, we were in a new relationship, there was no real problems. But it wasn't until I got back from Australia, having defied my family and been abandoned by them, that the abuse started. It didn't start until then. And by that stage, I was trapped. I was really in a situation where I had nowhere to go. I was pregnant, I was 15, and my parents didn't want to have anything to do with me. And he just started slapping me around. And I'm like, I didn't really know what it was. I didn't really understand, because all of the feelings that I had inside of me from my love for him was still there. But he was hurting me in a way that I couldn't understand, because he would then say that he loved me afterwards. So I got confused about what love was, and maybe that was part of how he showed me how he loved me.
He took me on a little trip. I kind of took it as like, oh my God, he loves me, But on the way back from that trip, he, in the car, asked me if we were officially together. And I said, yeah, of course, you're the only person I'm seeing. And yes, we're officially together. And he then said, okay, I just want you to know that since we're together, there's some things that make me uncomfortable, and I wanted to see if you were okay with it. And I said, okay. So he asked me to take down some of my pictures on my social media. He said that those pictures are pictures that are only suitable for a couple to see, like they're only suitable for him to see right now because I'm his now and like he's mine. Nobody should see those pictures. And I said, I'll think about it. And I took a few down as we were going. He said, I do so many nice things for you. It's just a little thing that you can do for me, seeing as, I'm willing to do all of these things for you. And in my mind, I was like, yeah, he is really nice to me. So maybe I can just do that for him. If it makes him more comfortable, what's the difference? It's just pictures, right? So that was that was the first thing that happened. A few days later, he changed his profile picture on social media to one of me and him together. And I thought, oh, wow, that's so nice. He wants to show people he's with me and he's proud of me and all these things. So I thought that was nice. But then I got messages at work, text messages at work of him saying that he feels really hurt that I didn't change my profile picture to be of one of him and me, and that he can see now that I don't really care about him as much as he cares about me. And immediately I was like, oh my gosh, you know, like I don't want him to think that. I want him to know that I care about him. I thought it was weird, of course, but again, I just wanted him to still be as nice to me as he has been. So I put up a picture of him and I on social media of us, right? So from there, it escalated. Those were the first little things, and it kind of, I don't want to say slowly because it was pretty quickly, but it was so insidious and so passive aggressive and manipulative that I didn't really understand what was happening to me at the time. He would tell me things like, you know, my ex, like he gave me the story about his ex-girlfriend cheating on him and how she was so suspicious and how she always kept her phone face down and she always blocked the banners on her phone. So when she got messages, he couldn't see who they were from and all these things. So I was like, oh, so maybe I should keep my phone face up and show my banner. You know what I mean? Like there's these little like things that happened that now I realize he was trying to manipulate me into doing that, right? But then it started turning into more overt things like, well, you should give me your password. If you trusted me, you should give me your password to your phone. I mean, if you have nothing to hide, you know, I want our relationship to be open. You can have my password. That's how relationships should be. You know, I don't want to end up with someone like my ex and blah, blah, blah. And it kept going and going. And then the rules started slowly coming in where it was, you know, I had to go to bed at a certain time and I had to have sex with him so many times a day because that's what he needed. And again, he's so nice to me. So I can do these little things for him. I mean, I have to give him what he wants. So it was that kind of thing. So those were the types of things that he did at the beginning that were red flags that seem like gigantic red flags now looking back. But when you're in it, because they're not being mean to you or being because it's so passive aggressive, it doesn't seem as bad as what it actually is. And those are some major signs that things are going to escalate. Went out with my friends. That was not out of kindness. That was him making sure that I'm not leaving with other men or knowing, you know, making sure he knows where I am. And again, because it's presented as being kind or as being caring or concerning or as just being attentive to their feelings because they're so attentive to yours, you just don't think it's a problem or as much of a problem as it really is.
It was those behaviors and I would say vocabulary of slowly criticizing me for the same exactly things which they were admiring me and appreciating me at the very beginning of our relationships. So that got me confused. Like, why would they say that I change? Or why would they say that I'm not the same person? Like, why would they say that we are not a good fit anymore? So I would go to those cycles of questioning myself. Did I do anything wrong? And because of my childhood and some trauma there, I was going to prove myself, explain myself, and just be a better person. So the abuse started increasing from criticizing me to actually silence treatment, and it got to the place where that person packaged all my luggage and belongings and threw it on the street and left me with no explanation at all, and just with the feeling of being rejected and that there is something wrong with me, which my mind was just going crazy of what did I do wrong? Like, there was actually nothing what I changed at all. But that's what's really grooming about, because when I refused some of his demands, which that person wanted me to prostitute myself so he could be gaining some financial outcome of that, and I said no to that, that's when that person put my luggages out of the door and didn't want to speak with me anymore. In this story, I'm going to share with you how I almost became a sex traffic victim and how I was able to run away. So in this very particular relationship I was in, it took 4 months for this person to share with me that actually their idea is to gain financial assets from me prostituting myself with different clients. And when that person announced it to me, why would I not do that? That's when like my brain was shattered in pieces, because I froze. I couldn't tell him reasons why I couldn't do it, and I couldn't understand how he could ask me for that. And it was a situation when this person actually said, you know, you can lie on the back of the car naked and I'm going to bring you clients in few minutes. And I thought he was joking, but he wasn't. Making the long story short, later on when I refused doing any of the behaviors he was demanding on me, he basically stopped being nice and kind and all these behaviors he was giving me at the beginning, and he put my belongings, my clothes, out of his apartment. He actually hired somebody to pack it all and had all those clothes delivered to my work space. And he just stopped talking to me. Probably, you know, looking for another target, because that's how a groomer works. If he don't get what he wanted from you, he's going to find somebody else. The last stage of grooming is maintaining abuse. The abuser uses manipulation, fear, and isolation to maintain the control and dependency over the victim.
I felt so seen by him, but I didn't understand that he was basically stalking me.
I would make jokes about, oh, you know, if he really cared about me, he would stalk me, ha ha ha, you know, thinking it was funny until that really actually happened to me.
Even when he finally moved out from our shared apartment, he moved in the same building. I even thought he's gonna try to break in and rape me, but he still keeps on coming. He creates like fake accounts on Instagram and Facebook.
He would show up at my daughter's school when I would leave her there and just watch, and he would follow me to work.
He stalked me for 2 years, showing up, banging on my window, climbing over my fence.
He phoned me one time and he said, you know, you better take me back or I will kill you. I will kill you. And I was just so shocked. And he said, I'm an ex-soldier. I have killed people and I will kill you if you don't take me back. And I just went, okay, yeah, I'll give you another chance. And I put the phone down and I didn't tell anybody. I was so ashamed because I was always defending him. I was defending him to my friends and my family, and everybody said he's bad news.
But before my own healing, I had no idea that grooming can happen at any age. So maybe you are in your 60s or 50s and you are just realizing, wow, that's exactly what happened to me, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. So that's why I feel that awareness is power, and please share this episode with anyone who might be going through some tough situations. Together we can make a difference. Thank you.
Someone else out there is living our life. Someone else out there is living the life that all of these survivors and thrivers have escaped right here, right now. You can pick up any newspaper. You can go online to any news outlet and you'll hear about mostly women, some men, but mostly women who are killed by their boyfriends, who are killed by the children of their father. You hear it all the time. And so there's someone out there right now that is living your survivor story. And when you start speaking, you give that person hope. So suddenly, with the hope, they start to have this idea of choice. And that is really possible. That's where you can really help someone create great impact in that person's life, and if they stay on the path, they can then in turn create great impact in their life. They can end generations of trauma. They can end generations of codependency, generations of women and men picking the wrong partners and staying and not understanding what's going on. And I think that is so encouraging. And that's why you do what you do, because you want to encourage people to awaken and to take ownership over their life in a powerful way and to tell their story.
You just don't know what people have gone through in this life to live, to stay alive, to breathe, to not cry, to hide their laughter because someone else doesn't want them to laugh. Someone says, oh, well, blah, blah, blah has happened to me. Immediately take a breath and say, what if that were me? How could I handle that?
Your reality can change. Who you are can evolve. You need to focus on love to access the reality of who you are. You need to embrace love in your life.
But that's what we're missing in this universe. It's love. And that is the antidote to hate, crime, pain, depression, anxiety, and hurting each other.
I hope you enjoyed this documentary, and I would love to invite you for the next one, which is all about red flags. If this episode resonates with you, please go to exposenetwork.com. You will find the link below, and we would love to learn more about you and your story. Could you do me a favor and share this episode with at least 2 of your friends who might be going through some difficult, challenging relationships? Remember, together we can make a difference. Thank you. You can thrive and you can be happy after an abusive relationship. Do you have a story to share?
It's night in the city and I'm on my way back home. Humming on my favorite ditty, swinging like Natalie Cole. But then out of the blue, who strolls down the boulevard but you? closer than mine. Why don't we go there and have some more wine? 'Cause life is for living. Let's see where this all might lead. Let's see where this all might lead. Waking up to a brand new day in between your sheets. Breaking up in the best of ways, and I'm back again on the street.